Okay, so yeah, okay, I was wondering about the multiple submissions there. Okay, so we're looking at the first. So let's look at the first. Okay, so all right, now the first thing I want to mention is that as a designer and learning to use typography, the typographic grid is one of the most powerful tools you will ever learn as a designer. It takes a layout from average and okay to very harmonious, very organized, displaying outstanding hierarchy and very professional. So we really, really want to emphasize on learning how to use the grid. Now I've left a couple of really nice resources for you. Now over in the announcements area, read through this a few times, Teresa, not only the introductory video, but this introduction on how to design using a grid. There's a couple of resources, a couple of links here, linking out to pretty good resources for the grid. I've got this video on how to create and use a modular grid. And then over here are some examples of some grids, and then some examples of grids laid over the layout so you can see how the layout applies to the grid. And then, of course, some more. So there's really a lot of information here, not to mention all the stuff in your class. Now, why am I bringing this up, Teresa? The reason I'm bringing this up is because you've got 4 layouts that are all center aligned. And a couple of things about center alignment. Number one, as a designer, you don't want to use center alignment. The reason that you're going to hear this over and over in design school is that center aligning, it creates symmetry in the negative space associated with the type. Okay, so this side is symmetrical to this side. And as we know, that is not always the most interesting thing to visualize. And think of the rule of thirds as an example for that. So you definitely don't want to center align these compositions. The reason that I'm saying that is because, and I said, I'm equating center aligned to that little, what I was saying about the grid, because center alignment does not employ the grid. It's just center aligned, right? The grid assists in alignment, placement, proximity, etc., to help you to create hierarchy and a logical place for the eye to flow through the composition. So I highly recommend not using center align. And this will all make a lot of sense once when you review not only the sections in the book, but also those resources from the class, especially in the weekly announcement. Okay, it's a little bit on your work. So other than center aligned, which I highly, highly recommend you do not lay these out using center aligned type. Okay, now a couple of things in the project requirements right over here, assignment 3, assignment 3, part 1, typographic hierarchies, alignments. In your first iteration, we've got the description of the project or the assignment right here. One of the things that it's saying is that okay, so you've got the card. The image should only be used in the 4th layout. Okay, no card in the first 3 layouts. So the image only in the 4th layout. You're introducing the image to the cropped image in the 4th layout. In the first, you're going to no contrast in size, but hierarchy based on grouping. Now, right now, these are not grouped at all. So you'll want to pick what would create a logical group and just create some separation. You can see that done right here. Okay, and that's grouping, that's creating hierarchy by grouping. In the second design, you want to introduce one new size and one new weight, which you've done right here, but the rest is still center aligned and somewhat stagnant. Okay, so think about that, remove the car. Third iteration, or I'm sorry, third design, third layout, you want multiple contrasts in weight and scale. Okay, so right now I'm still seeing 2. We're not seeing multiple contrasts, so you can really introduce some different weights and different scale to try to show the viewer the importance of this information. Okay, so right now it's okay. It really is. It's okay because that's bold, that's larger and darker. This is bold and this is smaller. So you've got 3 levels of hierarchy here. So that's okay. That's pretty good. But again, we've got that center alignment. And then in the 4th, this one is particularly puzzling in a way because I'm seeing the type right here. It almost looks like this type has been forced in there. So in other words, it looks like the type was placed and then that text box was manipulated without constraining the proportions of the original text. That's why this text looks a little squished. And I think it does, and forgive me if I'm wrong, but it really certainly does. We can tell by the shape of that 5 compared to the shape of that 5 and the shape of those numbers and the S's. So whenever you're resizing type in a placement, you always want to hold your shift key down. That will constrain the original proportions. But what you don't want to do is distort the type ever in any way, shape, or form. You do not want to distort the type from the typeface. Okay, so that said, I would recommend those changes. Try it. Get rid of the car. Let's forget about the center alignment, and definitely go through these course resources. And I think it'll really start to make some sense. What we should be able to do is lay a grid over all 4 of these and have the alignment aligned to the grid. As we can see here, this is a 3-column grid. We can see here's a column of type, here's a column of type, here's a column with image. Okay, and then the headline spans the 3 columns. So this is a very good example of the use of a grid. And this video right here is also a pretty good example. Okay, so those are my recommendations. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to let me know. Okay, thank you very much.